if you want to get that off.
Okay, so welcome to the Midlife Money Conversations. It's not a podcast, it's a series of interviews. Let's put it like that. I'm Carolyn Whitehouse, and I'm a money psychologist. So what does that mean? Well, that means I work with business owners to help them to be more confident, more capable, and a lot calmer with when they handle money, whether that's attracting money, receiving money, or keeping money. And I do that through a series of workshops, a series of training courses that I have. And that's the experience that I'm bringing today. You'll hear more about me and, of course, our other speakers later on. But first of all, I'm going to pass over to Raki for her to explain what she does.
Hi, I'm Raki Wood. I am an independent financial planner. I founded my own company, Butterfly Financial Planning. My motto is I want everyone to fly like a butterfly and be financially free. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. It's all I know. I've done it straight from university. And really, I'm here to help clients to understand if they have enough for them and their future, and if their loved ones have enough in the event of their premature passing or suffering serious illness. I like to say that I wear three hats. The first is understanding who are you, what's on your bucket list, what's important to you, because life is not a rehearsal. Secondly, I've put my financial life planner hat on to understand whether you've got enough for you. Do we need to make any tweaks? Are you going to die with too much potentially? And then thirdly, it's the financial advisor hat. Which products, which strategies do we need to suit you and your life plan? I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Right, wonderful. Thank you, Raki.
I'll hand over to Fleur now.
Excellent. Well, my name is Fleur Yanazzo, and I'm very happy to be here as well. My company is WTF Money, and I named it that because sometimes we just want to get it all out when we're talking about money, but we're often conditioned to be really polite about it and to be really staid when we're talking about money. I work one-on-one with clients. I'm interested in their behavior with money. And my tagline is all about making money conversations easier. I'm an ex-banker. I'm a chartered financial analyst as well, but I understand that it's not necessarily about the numbers when you're trying to make moves with your money. It's often about the people you need to talk to, the conversations that you have in your head, the ideas that you have about money and what you should be doing. So I work with clients to help them work out what they want to do, because quite often they're running around trying to meet other people's expectations as well. Yeah, but I'll hand over to Linda because I'm interested in what she has.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm Linda Southwood. I'm Colburn Coaching, and what I do, what I call myself, is a family legacy guide, and I help people who want to leave a legacy or an inheritance to future generations and get them to do that really well. And part of what often can be missing is exactly why we're here today. The money conversations are often tricky, they're often complex, they're often messy, they're full of expectation, and I help people just unravel some of those things to actually think about what is the purpose of this legacy, what do they want it to achieve. And many people have an idea or have a thought, but the actual talking about it and the communicating about it often is the bit that gets them stuck. My background is in counselling. I'm an advocate. I'm a mediator. I work in children's social care for a local authority. I still do that and will continue to do that. And I work specifically with families who are have social care involved in some way, shape or form because of the children that they have. So I'm very much involved in working through the nitty-gritties of how people can improve things for those situations. Thank you. Back to you, Carolyn.
Wonderful. Thank you, Linda. We've got a wealth of experience and knowledge in this room, and that's what we wanted to bring to you, the viewer and the listener, because what we're going to do now is we're just going to go around and talk about why we're here, because the reason we're here is that we all actually started having very similar conversations with each other around the topic of midlife and money. Obviously, we're all involved in some aspects of the financial industry. We've all got a wealth of knowledge in those fields, but we're also women, we're also mothers, we're also, all of those other roles that we have. And it's the crossover between those roles and money that we started having these conversations. And then at some point we thought, well, maybe we need to share these conversations because there's a lot of things to talk about. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just go around again and talk about why we're here. What is it that we individually are struggling with, dealing with? What are our challenges? And I think I shared the other day that one of my challenges recently has been having elderly parents and elderly in-laws who are being taken into hospital at very short notice. And when you run a business and you're the mother of 2 children as well, that creates, a lot of pressure. And it was certainly a few weeks ago when I really felt that time pressure. And I think that is something that I'm dealing with, is not only the time pressure, but having the conversations about with the elderly parents about, what do you want? What is it, what vision do you have? Do you have a vision about the future, about how you want things to go? And how am I going to manage that with the other demands that I have in terms of family, in terms of work, in terms of my own self-care? So for me, that's sort of what I'm bringing to the table. So, Raki, would you like to comment next?
Yes, I think for me it's about giving back to people out there, and really to explain what I mean, I'm just going to share my own personal story, and it's actually my late mother's story. So when I graduated from university, didn't really know what I was going to do in terms of my career. I had a mathematics degree from Manchester University. My parents were getting divorced at the same time. He was the money individual. She was the homemaker, looked after us children, and looked after the home. So that marriage ended, and I remember the immense stress and anxiety she had at that time. And it was a constant feeling of, am I going to be okay? I understand my marriage has ended. I accept that. But I don't know what my financial future looks like. She still had 2 dependent children, my brother and sister. She wanted them to go to university, all those things quite expensive. And she didn't know if she was going to be able to do it. And that caused the immense tension and worry and sleepless nights. And I remember sitting with her, on the dining table at that time, going through correspondence from solicitors and questions and accounts and all of that. And decisions needed to be made that were going to determine the next part of her life. So that's why I'm here. I want to share my financial knowledge and that experience that I've had with my mother. But moving forward from that, she did get the financial outcome that she needed and deserved, and we thought everything was going to be okay. But there's a twist to this story, because she got diagnosed with Alzheimer's at the age of 60. which then meant we had to help her through the care system in this country, social services, money, financial assessments, care home costs, and all the emotion that goes with that. So I've actually become a later life specialist as well as a financial advisor, again, because of that experience, and I want to help other people who may be going through these situations in their own life. Thank you. So to Fleur now.
Oh, wow. My reason for being here is I have a young daughter and she's 7 years old, and I found myself in that situation where I, alongside my husband, we have had to really deliberately consider what we're doing with our lives in terms of how we earn money, but also what our expectations for our daughter are, and our expectations for our own retirement. And what do you do when you're considering the cost of education, how important education is to you, and needing to sit down and quite deliberately question what our plans are and what the consequences are. And I've found with my peer group, the other parents in our area, we're all having very similar conversations. We've grown up, and as parents, we have this expectation of ourselves to provide a certain standard for our children. But we're starting to realize that the expense of that is quite different to what it was when we were growing up. So we have to make decisions differently and consider it quite differently. And these can be quite painful discussions, quite emotional discussions, especially with partners, with peers. It's quite confusing as well. So just opening that up to have a space where you hear other people talk about it and go, oh, wow, it's not just me. I'm not the bad guy for thinking, well, do I think of myself first, or do I say for my children? And these are really important questions. I haven't found the answer yet, so that's why I want to keep on having these conversations. How about you, Linda?
Yeah, just thinking about my whole bent is about legacy, and but it comes out of that sense of also dealing with my own messiness around that as well. And so on the one hand, I have two sons, one's 34, one's 32. That should be really simple, right? No. So I have one son who lives very near me, and he is currently single, and my other son married a beautiful, lovely, love her to bits American girl, and they stayed in England for a bit. She was living in California before that and couldn't do the British weather. I have no idea what she's talking about, by the way, with all this rain. So she was like, I've got to go and get some sun. I've got to go and get some, blue skies. So they went back to America, and so that's where they are now. So my grandchildren are also in America. So I've got two grandchildren, and one due in May. And suddenly the whole issue around, well, two kids, 50-50, doesn't work. It's not as simple as that. It's like, well, hang on. So the whole issue around what's fair and what's equal, it becomes very prominent. And so I'm working through that, and we're looking at, and the whole kind of tax situation in America clearly isn't something we know very little about, and we're having to educate ourselves very quickly about. And B, it's gone from what felt like pretty simple to now not so simple. And so we're working through that, and we're having conversations. We're saying, does this work for you? Is this okay? Does this sound okay to you? And and taking into account the differences between our two sons as well. And so I'm kind of here to kind of to initiate some of those conversations, but I'm having those conversations myself within my own family unit, because it just isn't apparent what the really obvious path is that fits our situation. And so, that's the kind of, some of the stuff that I'm thinking about, and I'm wondering. My parents aren't alive, and they had divorced a gazillion years ago. But my mother-in-law is still alive, and literally just last weekend we were having a conversation, or my husband was having a conversation with his mum about what happens next, and some of the let's say relational challenges there are with some siblings, and that communication. And it's hard to kind of keep going back and saying, Mum, it's not going to work if you structure it that way. And trying to pose other ways and points of view of suggestion, how it could be different, without necessarily, absolutely throwing your toys out the pram and saying, if you do that, I'm not going to be involved, which is A, not helpful, and B, in no one's best interest. But it is tricky, it is messy, and and I think part of it is, hey, everyone, get used to the mess. Because it's never going to be that straightforward. So, welcome to the mess, everyone. Let's enjoy it.
I think you've described it beautifully, Linda. This is why we wanted to have these conversations, because it is complex. These are extremely difficult and complex areas to have conversations, and intergenerational conversations as well. So it's not just people like you, it's people who grew up in a different time, people who are growing up now in a different time to us, and having those conversations. So I just wanted to just clarify a couple of things. One is that we are all based in the UK. So we're going to be talking primarily about things that happen in the UK, legislation, requirements that are based in the UK. If you are not in the UK, then I'd still encourage you to listen, because I think the conversations side of things will still be very relevant, no matter where you are, I think, in the globe. But obviously, if we do get into more legislative type issues, then it is UK based, and you will need to go and find out what's relevant in your country. And also, I think all of us are really on the same page in terms of, we don't want you to feel alone in this, because we're all trying to, and this is how we created this midlife money conversations, because we were vulnerable, we reached out and we started having these conversations, and then realized that actually we're all in the same boat, we're all having these conversations. So part of the reason we came together was because we don't want you to feel alone in this. We would love to have your questions, your thoughts, your comments on the videos. And please let us know if there's any conversations you'd like us to have, in any way that we can help to make this complex, difficult, messy journey just that little bit easier. Thank you. All right.